12 extreme flash floods surprising people. Alert! Alert! The streets, which had been quiet before the rain, became a rushing river. Within a matter of minutes, the floodwaters had swept away cars, flooded buildings, and left people trapped. Be ready to be astounded as we take you on a tour of some of the most horrific and unexpected flash floods ever recorded on video. When you see the raw strength of nature and the tremendous endurance of humans who survived these extreme weather disasters, you won't believe your eyes. It looks like, after several days of steady precipitation, the river that cut through the woodland was swollen to the point that it posed a threat to passersby. The force of the water caused the trees that grew along its banks to groan and shake, and their roots began to pull away from the ground and become more dislodged. As the floodwaters surged to ever greater heights, the trees gradually fell over and were carried away by the strong stream as the water level continued to rise. Before being taken away further downstream, their branches flailed around in the water, appearing to be helpless hands reaching out for assistance. The ruthless river carried away everything in its path and began to strip the forest of its canopy as it moved on. The wild creatures that had made their homes in the forest were compelled to leave in order to find higher ground and protection from the rushing flood. Nature seems outrageous and astonishingly angry. The water appears to be destroying everything, including the roots of the trees, and the whole effect is quite terrifying. The level of the river that ran through the middle of the town had already started to climb. Yet as the hours passed, the water level continued to rise until it reached a point where it was unable to be contained within its banks and began to flood the streets. As some of the locals saw the warnings, they made their way to higher land in order to get away from the impending flood. But for some others, it was already too late. They were unable to escape their homes and were forced to watch in fear as the water continued to rise, inching closer and closer to their entrances. The floodwaters took with them a wide variety of debris as they swept through the town, including uprooted trees and broken limbs from trees that had fallen. The strength of the stream was terrible, and the sound of the rushing water was so loud that it was almost deafening. It seems as though the water is emerging from nowhere, but it is carrying everything it possibly can with it. The people that live there made the very astute decision to direct it into the culvert, so that's where it went. Even though the likelihood of floods is difficult to estimate, we still need to take precautions. It will unquestionably be of assistance. The noise was so loud that it made it difficult to hear, and its roar could be heard all around the valley. As the deluge struck, it did so with a force that none could have possibly foreseen beforehand. It left a path of destruction in its wake, dragging away everything in its path along with it. The relentless force of the water was able to sweep away anything in its path, including automobiles, furniture, and even trees. The aftermath of the flood was like waking up in a nightmare for those people who had previously lived in the places that were touched by it. The roads were unrecognizable since they were covered in a foot or more of mud and debris. The construction of the magnificent bridge that spanned the expansive river had been a true showcase of the brilliance and capability of humankind. But when the flood arrived, it was clear that man could not stand up to the raw strength of nature. The river had been on the rise for days, nourished by continuous rainfall that had turned it from a peaceful waterway into a raging torrent that was threatening to overwhelm the town. The current was extremely strong and carried with it a wide variety of debris, ranging from entire houses to uprooted trees and everything in between. The bridge started to buckle under the strain as the water continued to rise to greater and higher levels. The structure supports groaning and twisting caused the whole thing to topple over quickly, and it ended up in the water below. Water in a desert! Well, it's a dream, but when Mother Nature gives that to you angrily, then it's an issue for you. Well, maybe it might be the rainy season, which causes it to morph into a tremendous force that carves deep gullies into the sand and carries all kinds of detritus with it. The car swept away like it was a toy car. The woman was shouting and pleading, but nothing could be done. It was a sobering reminder of the unpredictability and, at times, savage power of nature, as well as the importance of respecting the formidable might of the natural world. The attempts to clean up and recover were considerable, and the people who came to help were all working together to try to preserve the life of this young boy. That was a sobering reminder of the strength of nature, as well as the necessity to appreciate the enormous force that nature possesses. The floods are dangerously unpredictable and frequently take the lives of unprepared hikers and drivers who are caught in their path. It is conceivable for the water level to increase exceedingly quickly, and the currents may be impossible to fight against. In this particularly disastrous flood, the water washed away entire homes, ripping them from their foundations and transporting them downstream. This occurred in one particular instance. The locals, many of whom had lived in the neighborhood for decades, were left astonished and unable to find a place to live after the disaster. Can you see the force of the water? Isn't it horrific? Well, when a flash flood happens, the wave that surges tells us a lot about the process that causes it, as well as the raw strength that it possesses. People, please be careful out there. If you're not sure if you're looking at a waterfall or flood damage, did the forest get wiped out? The trees and plants were uprooted by the flood, which is what ultimately led to the devastation of the forest and the transformation of the land into a desert. Flooding can, in fact, inflict major harm to forests, particularly if the water is strong enough to uproot trees and transport them away. Looting is one of the main causes of this type of destruction. Flooding can also dump sediment and debris, which can suffocate plant roots and prevent new growth from taking hold in some circumstances. Floods can cause damage to ecosystems that are so severe that it may take the forest many years, if ever it recovers at all, to return to its previous state. Floods in forests may be extremely heartbreaking and devastating events because they have the potential to significantly disrupt the delicate balance of the environment and frequently lead to the destruction of habitat and animal populations. It seemed as though the waves had a will of their own, destroying whatever stood in their way with seeming randomness. This was because of the tremendous force with which the waves had struck. The family had come to appreciate and even look forward to their time spent by the water, but they had no clue that the ocean would be so cruel. That's all the time we have for the video today. If you would like to watch more such videos, then please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel by pressing the bell icon. Doing that will allow you to be notified as soon as we have a new upload for you, and you can always stay updated with us. If we could also ask you to, please kindly share our video with any friends or family or anyone else who you find would find this video very interesting as well. We appreciate you spending time out of your busy day to hang out with us today, and we'll look forward to catching up with you in our next video. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.